Now this is the Spider-Man movie I like. It fixes some of the interesting choices they made in Homecoming, and unlike No Way Home, the characters in this story make choices that make sense. Being the first movie to take place after the events of Infinity War and Endgame, Spider-Man Far From Home had a big job to do. Namely addressing how the world reacted to half the people in it disappearing, and then 5 years later reappearing out of nowhere. Some are upset that this movie didn't treat Thanos' snap just like Falcon and the Winter Soldier did, by discussing the social, political, and economic ramifications of losing half the people on the planet. But they failed to realize that this movie isn't about the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole. It's about Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And Peter's a high school student. This movie addresses Thanos as high schoolers would address Thanos. Far From Home gives us a high school news segment. It starts by calling Thanos' snap the blip. The segment goes into how everyone disappeared and then came back, and even talks about people that disappeared that came back that now have younger brothers that are older than them. In a very high school fashion, they discuss the heroes that died in the battle with Thanos and give them proper respect. And then they say it's time to get on with the school year, which is Far From Home's way of saying it's time to forget about Endgame and get on with this Spider-Man movie, which is A-okay with me. Now, one of the changes they made from Homecoming to this movie was subtle, but I really appreciate it. And that's Zendaya's character. First of all, she's the love interest in this movie, as she always should have been, not just some background weirdo. Second, they made her less of a weirdo and toned down the Debbie Downer stuff. Now she's a little more tolerable. Third, she's only referred to as Michelle once. The whole movie, she's referred to as MJ. And that one time she is referred to as Michelle. They add the name Watson at the end, bringing her that much closer to actually being the Mary Jane Watson we know from the comic books. Zendaya will never be Mary Jane, but I appreciate the effort. Now before you get your panties in a bunch, that comment wasn't a Little Mermaid situation. The character of Mary Jane and the character of MJ in these movies aren't the same person. They didn't put the character of Mary Jane Watson in these movies because she doesn't fit with Spider-Man when he's going to high school. Peter and Mary Jane met in their 20s at a photo shoot where Peter was the photographer and Mary Jane was the supermodel. She isn't the girl next door type. That was Gwen Stacy. If you told me Zendaya was supposed to be Gwen Stacy, I'd buy that. She'd have to be a little more cheery though. Even Kirsten Dunst in the original Spider-Man trilogy wasn't Mary Jane. She had the hair and the name, but her personality and story was all Gwen Stacy. Now don't get me wrong, I like this character. Tom Holland and Zendaya have great chemistry together. And I like that they're sticking with one name. As I said before, I didn't like the Call Me MJ reveal in Homecoming, even though they were calling her Michelle for the whole movie. All I'm saying is, the character Zendaya is playing is more like Gwen Stacy than it is Mary Jane Watson. It's also more like a brand new character than it is Gwen Stacy. So if you're going to make a brand new character, just have the balls to make a brand new character. But I digress. In short, I really like what they did with MJ in this movie. They toned down her quirkiness to a likable level. And I really enjoyed how she put together that Peter was Spider-Man, and was completely shocked when she found out she was correct. But the breakout character of this movie is Mysterio. His story, motivations, and reason for his powers are all great. having Mysterio's holograms be the same memory to holographic image technology that Tony Stark used at the beginning of Civil War, and called BARF, is a great way to intertwine the MCU. Having Mysterio's motivation be that he's upset that Tony Stark didn't give him credit for developing BARF, and that Tony Stark named his technology BARF, is also a great way to intertwine the MCU, and a decent motivation. And then Mysterio implements his plan by gathering other disgruntled Tony Stark employees we've seen before, and they created such an illusion that it fooled everyone in the world, including Nick Fury, which is awesome. And why did they do all this? So that Mysterio could get close to Spider-Man, earn his trust, and get the magic glasses that Tony Stark left Peter Parker. And why does he want these glasses? So he can use the Tony Stark technology to become the bestest superhero ever. And that's not so awesome. In fact, it's kind of lame. What's not lame is Spider-Man Far From Home, as one of my favorite action scenes in any Marvel film, where Mysterio surrounds Spider-Man in illusion. And while Mysterio can't beat Spider-Man in a fight, he creates enough illusions around him to make Peter beat himself up. It's brilliant. I also really enjoy the idea of going around Europe. It gives a lot of great set pieces and action sequences, and gives a good change of pace rather than just fighting in New York City. My only real complaint about this movie is why would Tony Stark give Peter Parker these glasses? He's a teenage boy in high school, and you gave him glasses that could control a military satellite. The first thing Peter does with them is almost kill all his friends because he doesn't know how to control it. Why would the smartest man alive think that this was a good idea? But this all around is a good movie, with great characters and a good story. But except for the scene I spoke of earlier, it's nothing to write home about. Just a good way to kill a few hours if you've got them. Although, it does have a pretty good cliffhanger ending